Emily Thompson sat by the small window of the twin-engine Cessna, her eyes fixed on the endless blue sky outside. It was a clear afternoon in late summer, the kind where the sun hung low and golden, painting the clouds in soft hues of orange and pink. She had boarded the plane in Seattle, heading to a small airstrip in Montana for a much-needed getaway. At 35, Emily was a graphic designer from the bustling city, but lately, life had felt like a whirlwind she couldn't control. Her recent divorce from David had left her raw, questioning every decision she'd made. This flight was her chance to breathe, to escape the noise of emails and deadlines. The plane hummed steadily, a gentle vibration under her seat. Emily leaned back, her fingers tracing the edge of her worn leather journal. She had packed light, just a backpack with clothes, a few books, and that journal where she sketched ideas when inspiration struck. The pilot, Jack Harlan, a sturdy man in his 50s with a salt and pepper beard, had greeted her warmly at the gate. "Smooth skies ahead," he'd said with a wink. His co-pilot, Mike Reynolds, younger and quieter, nodded politely as he checked the instruments. There were only 4 passengers total: Emily, an elderly couple named the Wilsons, and a businessman tapping away on his laptop. As the plane climbed higher, Emily let her mind wander. Below, the Pacific Northwest unfolded like a patchwork quilt, dense forests giving way to jagged mountains, rivers snaking through valleys like silver threads. She pressed her forehead against the cool glass, feeling a rare sense of peace. It had been years since she'd felt this free. David had always hated flying. He preferred road trips where he could control the route. But Emily, she loved the detachment, the way the world shrank to toy size, problems seeming smaller from up here. A soft ding from the intercom pulled her from her thoughts. "Folks, we're cruising at about 10,000 feet. Jack's voice crackled. "Should be in Montana in under 2 hours. Sit back and enjoy." Emily smiled faintly, sipping from her water bottle. The elderly Mrs. Wilson across the aisle was knitting a scarf, her needles clicking rhythmically. Mr. Wilson dozed beside her, his head lolling gently. The businessman, Mr. Patel, glanced up briefly before returning to his screen. Time passed slowly, the way Emily liked it. She pulled out her journal and began doodling a simple sketch of the clouds, fluffy and ethereal. Her thoughts drifted to her childhood in rural Oregon, where her father had taken her on her first flight in a crop duster. "The sky's the limit, kiddo," he'd say, his laugh booming over the engine's roar. Those memories warmed her, a balm against the chill of her failed marriage. David had promised forever, but forever had crumbled under late nights at work and unspoken resentments. Now, alone in the sky, Emily felt a spark of hope. Maybe this trip would help her rediscover herself. The plane banked slightly, offering a view of Mount Rainier in the distance, its snow-capped peak glistening. Emily's breath caught. It was breathtaking. She imagined narrating this to her best friend back home. "You should have seen it, Sarah." Like a painting come to life, the engine's steady drone was almost soothing, a background hum that lulled her into relaxation. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the sun through the window wash over her face. But then, a subtle change. The hum grew irregular, a faint stutter that made Emily's eyelids flutter open. She glanced around. No one else seemed to notice. Mr. Patel was still typing, the Wilsons unchanged. Maybe it was nothing, she thought, just her imagination playing tricks after a stressful week. She shifted in her seat, trying to shake off the unease. The plane leveled out, and the view shifted to endless wilderness below, pine trees stretching like an ocean of green. Minutes ticked by. Emily tried to focus on her sketch, but the stutter returned, louder this time. A vibration rattled through the cabin, and she gripped her armrest. "Is everything okay?" she whispered to herself, her heart picking up pace. Up front, she saw Mike lean over to Jack, their heads close in conversation. Jack's hand moved to a switch, flipping it with practiced ease. The engine smoothed out briefly, and Emily exhaled. "See? Just a glitch." Planes have those. The relatable problem in Emily's life wasn't the flight, it was the quiet take of starting over. At home, her apartment felt empty, echoes of arguments lingering in the air. She'd taken this trip on a whim, booking a cabin in the Montana woods to hike and reflect. "You need this," Sarah had urged. "Get out there, breathe fresh air." But doubts crept in. Was she running away? Could she really rebuild alone? The sky outside mirrored her mood, vast and open, yet intimidating in its emptiness. As the plane droned on, Emily watched a flock of birds far below, wheeling in formation. She envied their freedom. The engine's hum was steady again, and she relaxed her grip. Perhaps she was overthinking everything. As usual, the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the landscape. In the distance, hints of the Rockies appeared, rugged and inviting. Then, without warning, a deafening bang shattered the calm. The plane lurched violently, throwing Emily against her seatbelt. Smoke billowed from the right engine, visible through the window, a black plume trailing like a wound in the sky. Alarms blared from the cockpit, red lights flashing. "What the question mark?" Mr. Patel yelped, his laptop sliding to the floor. The Wilsons clutched each other, Mrs. Wilson's knitting tumbling away. Emily's heart pounded, adrenaline surging. The plane tilted sharply, the left engine straining to compensate. Jack's voice came over the intercom, strained but steady. "Folks, we've lost the right engine. Stay seated, belts on. We're handling it." But even as he spoke, another jolt hit, and Emily saw sparks flying from the damaged side. The cabin filled with the acrid smell of burning oil, and panic rippled through her. Mike unbuckled and hurried to the back, grabbing an extinguisher, but it was too late. The fire licked at the wing. The plane began to descend, not gracefully, but in fits and starts. Emily gripped her journal like a lifeline, her mind racing. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not when she was just starting to feel okay. Up front, Jack slumped suddenly, his hand clutching his chest. "Jack!" Mike shouted, rushing back. The pilot gasped, face pale, before going limp. "Heart attack?" Emily wondered in horror. Mike checked his pulse, then keyed the radio. "Mayday, Mayday, this is Cessna 905 Charlie, engine failure and pilot down, requesting emergency landing guidance." The plane bucked again, altitude dropping. Mr. Patel prayed softly. The Wilsons held hands tightly. Emily unbuckled instinctively, stumbling forward. "What can I do?" she called over the noise. Mike turned, eyes wide with desperation. He was young, maybe late 20s, sweat beading on his forehead. "The pilot's out cold, a possible heart attack. I'm rated for single engine, but this bird's fighting me." "Do you? Can you fly? Any experience at all?" The question hung in the air, a gentle twist that caught Emily off guard. "Fly?" Her mind flashed back to those childhood lessons with her dad. He'd taught her basics in that old crop dustro, how to hold the yoke, read the altimeter, even land in a pinch. It had been hobby stuff, nothing professional, but she'd logged a few hours before life got in the way. "A little," she admitted, voice trembling. "My dad was a pilot." "I haven't in years, but..." Mike nodded urgently. "That's more than anyone else here. Help me stabilize. Take the co-pilot seat to keep her level while I work the radio." Emily's legs felt like jelly as she climbed into the seat, the controls foreign yet familiar. The yoke was slick under her palms, the dashboard a blur of gauges. Outside, the ground rushed closer, forests and rivers no longer scenic, but threatening. "Okay, what now?" she asked, forcing calm. "Pull back gently on the yoke. Yeah, keep the nose up. We're at 7,000 feet, losing fast. Aim for that clearing ahead." Mike pointed to a distant meadow, radioing coordinates. The left engine whined, overworked, but held. Emily focused, her breaths deep and measured. The plane responded sluggishly, wind howling through a crack in the seal. Memories flooded her. Dad's voice, steady hands. Trust the machine." She adjusted the trim, feeling the craft level slightly. Behind her, the passengers watched in stunned silence. Minutes stretched like hours. Mike talked to ground control, vectors crackling over the static. "We're 5 miles out. Flaps down, easy now." Emily followed his cues, her fear mingling with determination. This was her relatable problem amplified, a crisis forcing her to confront her strength. She'd felt powerless in her marriage, but here, in this metal bird hurtling earthward, she had to act. The ground loomed, trees blurring past. "Brace!" Mike yelled as they skimmed the treetops. The wheels hit grass with a thud, bouncing roughly before skidding to a halt. Dust and smoke enveloped them, but the plane held together. Silence fell, broken only by heavy breathing. Emily released the yoke, hands shaking. Mike clapped her shoulder. You did it. You saved us. Paramedics arrived soon after, sirens wailing from the nearby road. Jack was rushed to an ambulance, still unconscious but alive. The Wilsons hugged Emily tearfully, Mr. Patel shaking her hand. "Hero," he murmured. As the sun set over the meadow, Emily stood outside the wreckage, journal in hand. The view was different now, grounded, real. She'd come seeking escape, but found resilience instead. In the chaos, she'd flown not just the plane, but through her own doubts. Life, she realized, was like that flight, unpredictable, but navigable with steady hands. Back home weeks later, Emily framed a photo from the incident, a selfie with Mike and the others, smiles amid the debris. She started flying lessons again, honoring her dad. And when Sarah asked how the trip was, Emily smiled. "Transformative. I learned I can handle more than I thought." The sky called her back, vast and forgiving. Emily was ready to soar.